The situation for civilians on the ground in Lebanon, Gaza, Israel, and Syria is getting worse by the day. The densely populated capital of Beirut is increasingly being hit by Israeli airstrikes. Hundreds are dead, and over 1 million people have fled their homes throughout the country. Hezbollah and other armed groups continue to fire rockets into Israel, resulting in the first civilian fatalities in the north since the most recent escalation of hostilities between Israel and Lebanon last month. Just last night, Beirut was bombed again, in the heaviest strike yet on the central part of the city. At least 22 people were reported killed and over 100 injured, according to the Ministry of Public Health. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, reminds all parties of their obligation to adhere to international humanitarian law, or the rules of war, with respect to the protection of civilians, civilian objects, and infrastructure. Any alleged violation must be subjected to a prompt and thorough investigation, and those responsible, where violations are found to have taken place, must be held to account. The Lebanese people are bearing the brunt of this latest phase of the conflict. The Ministry of Public Health says that almost 400 children and women are among the over 2,000 people killed since October 2023. There are recurring reports of essential civilian infrastructure having been struck, including hospitals, clinics, ambulances, and schools, along with the destruction of housing. In all, over 100 medical and emergency workers have been killed across Lebanon since October last year. Many of those displaced have fled to Syria. From the 23rd of September to the 9th of October, it has been reported that over 310,000 Syrians and nearly 110,000 Lebanese citizens have crossed the border. On the 9th and the 10th of October, Hezbollah said it had launched at least 360 missiles from southern Lebanon into Israel. 2 people were killed in a rocket attack on the border town of Kiryat Shmona on the 9th of October, a day after 5 others were injured in a rocket attack on Haifa. Amid this escalating violence, we are appalled by the sweeping, inflammatory language on multiple sides. Recent language threatening Lebanese people as a whole and calling on them to either rise up against Hezbollah or face destruction like Gaza risks being understood as encouraging or accepting violence directed against civilians and civilian objects in violation of international law. Ongoing denigration of the UN, in particular UNRWA, is unacceptable. This kind of toxic rhetoric from any source must stop. It is important that we also keep the spotlight on the frightful human suffering continuing in Gaza. Over the last week, the Israeli military has intensified operations in North Gaza, further severing the area from the rest of the Gaza Strip and risking afresh the lives of civilians in the areas. Intense strikes, shelling, quadcopter shootings, and ground incursions have occurred over the past days, hitting residential buildings and groups of people, causing numerous casualties, and once again mass displacement of Palestinians in the area. Attacks on hospitals also continue. One strike on Al-Yaman al-Said Hospital, serving as an IDP shelter in Jabalia camp, killed 17 Palestinians, including children and women. On the 9th of October, the Israeli military ordered the evacuation within 24 hours of Kamal Adwan Hospital in Beit Lahia, the largest operating hospital in northern Gaza, impacting hundreds of injured, other patients and medical workers, as well as residents that rely on the hospital. Meanwhile, in other parts of Gaza, a strike on Rufaida School, sheltering IDPs in the west of Deir al-Bala on the 10th of October, reportedly killed 28 Palestinians, including children and women. We have recorded at least 14 schools struck this October alone, at a rate of more than 1 school a day. While the Israeli military continues to order Palestinians in North Gaza to leave, many are trapped and cannot safely move. Our office has received reports that those most vulnerable, including people with disabilities and their families, are especially struggling to evacuate. The High Commissioner stresses that now, more than ever, political courage, leadership, and compassion are needed. The killing, destruction, as well as the bellicose posturing by those in positions of power must end. There is no alternative to resolution of this conflict than at the negotiating table. Widening conflict and progressive escalation put the lives and well-being of potentially millions of people across the region at risk.